What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Dylan Talks Tone. Welcome to our Tuesday podcast. Just gonna say it podcast. For those of you that get in the comments afterwards and say that all I do is talk, that's what podcasts are. So welcome. If you're not familiar with what a podcast is in 2023, that's what it is. We'll probably upload it to the other podcast platforms in the next couple of days. This is a guitar channel. We talk all about guitar stuff. So if you like guitar stuff, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the like button. If you think you're subscribed, please check and make sure that you are. Sometimes YouTube unsubscribes people. I don't know why. Now we're getting pretty close to 100,000, so that'd be pretty cool. Do me a favor and like the or support the channels or support the companies that support us by using the links in the description and going to Dylan Talks Tone, talking, buying pickups, because that's what we really do here. Shipped a bunch of stuff today, and yeah, there you go. If you have guitar questions, put a bunch of guitar question marks in front of your question and put it in the chat right over here, and I'll try to grab it out of there. If you want a question answered right away, or if you have something to say right away, use a super chat and we will drop what we're doing and we will answer that question right away. I also want to thank my Patreon and YouTube supporters as well, who keep all this stuff going around here. All right. It's a coffee day today because it is cool and chilly. And, flannel and fall and that sort of thing. So we made a bunch of pickups this morning, shipped a bunch of stuff, a bunch of P90s, a bunch of humbuckers. Some of the 10th anniversary humbuckers are starting to ship. I think we've shipped 5 sets so far, and we're going to try to ship probably another 10 sets this week because that's going to be pretty crazy busy doing all that stuff, but it'll be kind of fun. So y'all saw the thumbnail. Tone is the most overused word. So first of all, let me just say that it is not lost on me that it is actually in the name of my YouTube channel. Believe me, if I could change it without any negative consequences, I would change it to something else. Because it does a couple things. It makes it to where people only come to this channel to look for nerdy stuff, and I don't like just nerdy stuff. I like lots of nerdy stuff, and I like more than just capacitors and caps and stuff. You know what I mean? There's more to life than capacitors and caps and pickup wire. So I kind of wish that I had named it something else, but at the same time, it is what we do. We talk about guitar stuff. What's really funny is I will make a video about, I don't know, maybe I'll make something about microphones, or I'll talk about how to pot a pickup. And somebody will get in the comments and be like, I thought we talked tone. Come on, man. I was, again, it comes back to every time I get a new guitar, or maybe I do something on the channel that's a little surprising to a lot of folks. Sometimes I get these comments and it's interesting and it makes for more conversation. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I got this Martin last week and I love it. I've been playing it like every spare minute of every day. And I've also been playing a whole bunch of other stuff. It's interesting how when you get a guitar that you really like, I don't know if this happens to you or not, but it does to me. So I have a variety of instruments, as you are aware, if you follow the channel at all. And so I get one cool thing or whatever, or even anything, any little guitar related thing, and I'll want to try it with everything. So, I played my Martin for a little while, and of course I played my Breedlove because it's rosewood back and sides and spruce top. So you want to see how different they are. Wait till I do the video on the difference between those two guitars, because they do not sound anything alike. Leslie is like, I don't even really know the guitar tone thing that much, and those guitars are totally different. And I'm like, I know, it's crazy, right? And they're made out of the same thing, same depth, everything, right? Just really interesting how different they are. So I was also playing a bunch of my carbon fiber stuff, which is cool because I love carbon fiber. I really do. I think it's really neat, and those guitars are really good. Somebody said on a picture, I posted a picture of all my acoustic guitars, and they're like, the close doesn't even belong in that picture or any conversation about tone. And I thought that is brings up an interesting conversation. This use of the word tone is so it's just dumb. Here's why, in my opinion, and we could talk about this a little bit if you have thoughts. The thing about it is everything has a tone, right? So we could, well, I don't want to bang on that coffee cup, but we could, okay, whatever. I got these aluminum trays over here, right? They have a tone. This knife has a tone. Everything has a tone. Everything has a sound. You can make a sound with anything. So the concept that something has tone and something doesn't is dumb. This is kind of an extension of the video that we talked about yesterday about how when you have these 5 different guitars, we'll get into specifically some more about that video because I thought it was very interesting in the comments. You guys were awesome. Made a bunch of comments. It was really a fun conversation going on in the comments. Really cool. But the idea that something could have tone versus not, or good or bad or whatever, it doesn't matter, is kind of ludicrous because ludicrous tone. I actually made a t-shirt like that, but nobody ever bought it. The thing is, different is not better or worse. Those close acoustic carbon fiber guitars are freaking cool, and they sound awesome. And what they do, here's what it does. It's really neat. What they do is, when you sit and play, let's say you play the D28 for a while, right? And then you play the Breedlove. Now, those guitars are both over $3,000, right? And they are the thing, right? Especially the D28. D28 is like the standard that everything else is measured by, right? So then in your mind, people are like, is it as good as that, or is it better than that? Tone wise. And my thing is, I don't care about that. I could care less about that. Now, I make pickups for a living. We'll get into what I do care about in a minute and what I think does matter. But I do not care about differences. I don't care about A/B tests. I don't care about this should sound like that, or how does this sound in comparison to that. I do not care. I do not like that at all. So when you look at the close, even the travel one, like the little one, it's got a really unique sound. It's really, really cool. And what it does, because of the scale length and because of the weight of the strings that are on it and because of how small the body is, it sounds different. It's not that it doesn't have tone. It's not that it's a bad tone. It's, okay, it makes this sound. This is the sound that it was designed to make. What can I create with what I've been given here? And I think that's what makes it fun. Then you grab the full-size close carbon fiber guitar, and it sounds totally different. It's like really bright and kind of jangly. And you go, okay, well, now this makes me want to play with a pick, and it makes me want to accentuate these various things. It makes me want to do different things. I actually kind of want to play without a pick on the little one, right? And then you go to the McPherson stuff, and the McPherson stuff is just phenomenal. People will get in the comments on those videos when I make those videos about all this stuff, because it's coming. And and say, this guitar sounds terrible, this guitar has no tone, this guitar's tone sucks, whatever. They're just wrong. The problem is I might not be able to record them properly. The McPhersons are phenomenal. Both of them are so good at what they do. They make different sounds and they're very, very cool. So is there such a thing as bad tone? I'm going to say yes and no. Bad tone is when you can't get the sound that you want out of the thing that you have. That doesn't make it bad, but that's what people want to say. This guitar has bad tone. Well, yeah, actually, classic vibe Telecaster neck pickups suck. They sound terrible. Is there a way to make use of the sound that they make? Yes, there is. You could find a sound that those pickups could make that would be desirable in the particular passage of music that you are creating. There is a way to find that sound. That's why when you go to Nashville, I used to go to Nashville all the time, and one of my friends plays for Reba McEntire, and you go in his basement, and he literally has 2 rooms the size of this room, floor to ceiling, labeled all of his guitars. And he has like every old crappy Japanese guitar, every ukulele looking thing, every weird Vox thing, every weird thing, because he produces music for a living when he's not on the road. And so when he needs a sound, he can go get that sound. If you pick up this weird Vox thing from 1960 whatever, and it's shaped like a teardrop and it's stupid, it's hard to play. It's not really that set up that well. And you wouldn't pick this guitar up and be like, oh, I think I'm gonna, write a record with this thing. It doesn't really work for a lot of stuff, but there's one sound in one song on one track that works perfectly for that. Every instrument is like that. So you can find, whether it's the close carbon fiber little travel-y guitar that everybody thinks is so terrible in comparison to whatever, or whether it's a D28, doesn't matter. And everything in between on the acoustic side and on the electric side, we can get just as nuanced, both acoustic and electric. You can kind of get both, just as nuanced. But instead of, thinking that a guitar sucks or that this guitar is bad or that guitar, whatever, focus more on what the sound is. Like, what can I do with it? And then if you only have one guitar, or if you bought a Telecaster, like for example, so I guess let each instrument be itself. Don't worry about whether this is alder and this is ash, or this tone wood is as good as that tone wood, even in acoustic stuff, even in electric stuff. I don't care what you believe. It doesn't. This right here is why tone wood doesn't matter. It's not necessarily that it doesn't make a difference on every little nuance of sound for every little thing. You can argue that in the comments all you want. I have nothing to do with that argument. The reason I say it doesn't matter is because it doesn't matter. It's just like saying, this toolbox is red and that toolbox is black. It doesn't matter. Okay? That's how I mean it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Because if whatever flavor is whatever the guitar sounds like is what it sounds like. Use it for what it sounds like. That's why it doesn't matter. The effect that it has on the sound that it makes, you can argue that all you want. But in the end, none of this matters until now you're going to go like, well, you make pickups for a living and your entire channel has 1,300 videos about tone. So you're full of crap if you're saying that. None of it matters if you are happy with the sound that comes out of the instrument that you have in your hands. Once you are not happy with it, or once it does not do something that you want it to do, then things start to matter. Then it's like, okay, do I just get a different guitar? Which is actually what, like, a lot of the studio musicians and stuff, folks in like Nashville and stuff, like okay, so my friend Jim, when I met in his studio, he's like, this is what I use for this, and this is what I use for this. I don't really modify anything or do anything. That being said, he does have my pickups and some stuff, but he mostly doesn't mess with anything because he's just like, this pickups sound like that, so that's what I use them for, and then I just grab this other guitar. Well, he has 200 guitars, so he has the luxury of doing that. We don't often have the luxury of doing that. So we have to say, okay, I have a $500 classic vibe telly, and the pickup is all muffly and weird. And so now I'm going to call Dylan and I'm going to put some flat sixes in it, and it's going to be better. And it's going to be more like a American Standard telly or a custom shop telly sounding, leaning more that direction because it's got these good pickups in it and it's got this good hardware in it. But until then, the whole tone thing is dumb if you like what it's doing. And this is what I tell people. In fact, I had somebody send me a message on our little chat thing on the website today. I think he said he had an ESP something. I can't remember what it was now because it's been a few hours and I've done a million things since then. But I have an ESP something and I am looking for new pickups for it. I could just say, oh, this is what you should put in it if I was salesman guy. No. The question is, what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? What's it doing that you want it to do? What's it not doing that you want it to do? Is it doing something you don't want it to do that you want it to stop doing? What kind of amp do you use? What kind of music do you play? And what are you looking to get out of the instrument? And he told me a bunch of stuff, PV Viper and some higher gain stuff, but he also wanted some clarity, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, given your parameters that you are these changes that you're trying to make, you should buy a set of our Super 8s. That would be awesome. And he ordered them. But that's when it matters. And that's to me how it should be approached, right? Like, and the reason I bring this up is because too many people, I think, focus too much time on things that don't really matter. So when we start talking about, this is why I hate making these videos. I'm kind of done with it. It's kind of stupid to me. So when we say, oh, well, should you use orange drop caps or should you use paper and oil caps? And people will like get into a rage in a comment section over that. I do not care what you use. You can use the little chiclet ones. You could use, it doesn't matter to me. I know that when you buy my pickups and put them in that guitar, it will sound better than what you had in there because I know that my pickups will make this much difference and your cap will make this much difference. It will make a difference. And if you take a bunch of little things that make this much difference, you can add them up to this much. I get that. The problem is that the time wasted and the brain cells burned and the enemies made and the negativity spewed into the culture isn't worth it to me. So that's why I think focus should be on guitar setup, on posture, playing, how you hold the thing, and probably saddle materials, bridge materials, pickups, maybe pot selection. Other than that, nobody cares. Don't worry about what wire is in your guitar. Don't worry about maybe string selection, like anything where you interface with the guitar, like as a human being, like as you touch it, that matters. Neck finish, not because of tone, but because of, is it sticky? Does it bug you? Right? Like, are you comfortable with the guitar? Does the guitar poke you in a spot that you don't want to be poked so that you play it weirdly? That kind of thing. Like, those are the kinds of things I think that make much more difference. And so this whole tone word is dumb. Be more pragmatic about it. Like, approach the instrument from the fun side, not from the tone side. Approach it from the fun side. Like, if it doesn't inspire you, okay, then figure it out, right? And don't call me with a brand new guitar that you've never played. Like, don't be one of those people who's like, okay, I ordered this guitar. I see this all the time. So I'm researching right now because my Z28 doesn't have a pickup in it. And I'm researching right now what pickup I want to put in it. And so you'll literally go in a forum and it'll be all these Martin nerds, because everybody who has a Martin kind of is a nerd about them because they're cool. And I just ordered a D28. What pickup should I put in it? Like, what upgrades? Oh, what upgrades should I do? Type what upgrades to anything, right? And there will be somebody in the comments on some forum, and it'll be, I just ordered new toothpicks. What upgrades should I do to my new toothpicks? And you're like, do they work? If they work, why are you upgrading them? So yeah, kind of funny. Let's see. We got a super chat from Dean. What's up, Dean? Thanks, man. The just as good as guys. Best new phrase I've heard. Sorry, I don't know what RTD means. For some reason, my brain is not working. By the way, I got my HSS a while ago. It's great. Thanks. Yeah, the just as good as guys. I think all those things are kind of funny. They're all kind of whatever. You know, it's just, and this is what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this and try to move and establish, and we've been doing this for 10 years, right? And I think part of it is that. Part of it is I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been making videos for 10 years. And I'm like, how do we move forward? Like, how do we create an environment? And I know we've worked on it for a long time, but like, why don't we just create an environment where everybody just plays guitar? Right? And when you want new pickups for your guitar, call me. I will give you something that's good. That's not a problem. We have that on lock. Okay. That stuff is, you know, if you want to take a cheap guitar, or a guitar that's not doing something that you want it to do, I have something for you to make it better. End of story. I know we do. That's what we do. We've been doing it for 10 years. It's probably almost 15,000 pickups in people's guitars that say so, right? So that's not a problem. So that's kind of almost like set for me. Like, we can do that. So now on the YouTube side, it's like, I've been thinking a lot about this whole, like, I'm just having fun playing guitar lately. It's been so fun. But every time I get a new guitar, or every time I share something from my journey of playing guitar, people are like, but what about the tone, bro? I mean, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it. So obviously it's awesome. You know? Let's see. Let me see the Jaga guys. I know. Maybe we should just make a shirt that says Jag. Oh my God. That would get too political too quickly. But we really should have a red hat with white letters on it that says Jaga. No, we shouldn't. No. Anyway, that's hilarious. I don't know why I haven't thought of that already. So funny. Let me see if we missed some comments, some questions in here. What about no caps? Why are we putting all these filters on our guitars before it even hits the amp? That's a good question, but you know, we talked about that yesterday. Capacitor and our tone circuit and a volume circuit are amazing on a guitar. And if you have never used one, if you've always left everything on 10, I definitely recommend using only one pickup in your guitar and using if you don't have a single pickup guitar. The reason I bring up the one pickup thing is because it focuses you on not changing anything and just staying very pure with what you're doing. When you introduce, so we've got this LC circuit, right? We've got this inductance, we've got inductance and capacitance, and we add resistance through a voltage divider to bring the resistance down to 0 and turn our volume down. As we do that, the frequency changes. So when you turn your volume down, the frequencies that are gated through the voltage divider change a little bit. Also, as we adjust the variable resistor, our frequencies get filtered as well at different shelves and stuff. We might do another video on this soon because people have been requesting about it. But the interaction between those two things, 50s wiring, modern wiring, however you want to do it, and the pot selection as well as the cap selection, make it really fun. Because what happens is, so I'm just going to give you my kind of ethos on this. I never, ever, ever use a volume mod. I am not a treble bleed person. I never use a treble bleed. Here's why. Because I'm kind of on the same boat you are. Why would we add another filter? Okay. So on a passive guitar, and this is something that when we're talking about guitar tone, this is something that's very interesting that you bring up. When we have a volume mod on a guitar, we're adding another filter. And on a passive guitar, not an active one with like EMGs or, fluences or something, but on a passive guitar, it is a completely parasitic circuit. What I mean by that is every time you add a component, you are taking away the potential signal that the pickup can make. So the pickup creates electricity. Everything you add after that takes away some of that electricity at some frequency. Okay. Whether it's where the volume pot is, where the tone pot is, the resistance of the pots, and actually the resistance of the pots / value of the cap. Because contrary to popular belief, and we've proved this many times on the channel, when all the knobs are on 10, your cap still matters. Okay. So all those things added in, they matter. But when you turn your volume down, it shaves off top end, but it does it in such a way that it softens the signal as the signal lowers towards 0. And it creates a different sound. So I use it as a tool. So on a single pickup guitar, especially, so like on a junior, I'm not saying you can get neck pickup vibes, but you can kind of, depending on where you pick. So you can do a couple things. You can turn your volume down to, let's say 6, turn your tone down to, let's say 4 or 5, and then pick towards the neck more. And you can get a whole different sound than you can from volume knob, tone knob on 10, and picking in your normal spot over the pickup. Two completely different sounds. So much more versatile. Once you start to understand how all that stuff works, then your guitar does way more than just the sound that you might not think you like. And I think that's why it's really important to use your volume and your tone knob, because you get more out of it. But learning that stuff is important. So I think having a tone circuit and having a volume and tone circuit on a guitar is important for most people. Like Matt at Texas Toast, he doesn't even want any knobs. He just wants a pickup, which I get, which is really cool and super punk rock and really rock and roll. And I think it's awesome. And I would have a guitar like that. And I do have a guitar like that, but it's just a volume knob and a kill switch and a high output humbucker, like my MGK guitar. So I get that. It's really cool. But for most people, the versatility is pretty cool. When you put a volume mod or a treble bleed on the guitar, now you have an issue, because you're not only filtering high end, but you're also filtering low end. You are not retaining signal. People think that you retain highs, but what you're actually doing is you're scooping out more lows and making the sound much thinner. So instead of just pulling stuff off of this end, now you're pulling stuff off of this end and trying to keep more of that mid-range. You're just pulling more signal out of the guitar, and I just do not like that at all whatsoever. It's just not my jam. Interesting to think about, though, because many people follow that a different way. Let's see. I like a well-executed bleed, especially on a single pickup guitar. Yeah, see, and if you like that sharp, tinny sound when you turn your volume down, then that's cool. Because it also, and that might sound derogatory, but that is what it does. However, depending on what amp you're using too, what's left, or what your amp is actually strong. This is the other thing. I think, this is my opinion, but I think certain amps and guitars work better together because the pickups make a particular resonant peak, but certain amps are better at amplifying certain signals than others. That's why an AC30 and certain tubes are better, right? So EL84s and EL34s have a more sparkly top end in a different way, because Fenders have sparkly top end too, than a 6L6. And it's they still do, but they're different, right? So it's just a different thing. So if you have this guitar with this amp, it can change it. This is also why I like digital stuff, because then I don't have to mess with that. It, to me, and I know a lot of people feel differently about this, but the reason I like modeling stuff is because, honestly, as much as people think that it overcomplicates everything, for me it simplifies it, because then I can say, well, I'm going to play this amp, or I'm going to play this, like a 6L6 based profile with this guitar, and I'm going to play. I don't know if you guys noticed that. You may not, but I use different amp profiles for different types of guitars. So, like my Fender Tone Master, I will use for, most Fender style videos. I will use my Tone X with some other profiles for more Gibson-y stuff. I will use it depends. It kind of depends, but yeah. So having that flexibility in one little box is really, really nice. Since I am not playing in a place where I can stand in front of a bunch of speakers and feel the air like everybody wants to feel, then it doesn't matter to me, because I can't do that. So, yeah. See what we can make the guitar do instead of see what it makes us do. See, I am the opposite there. So I'm the opposite. I want to know, and this is why I like having like all the different acoustics in the living room. They're all out there right now. They're everywhere. The reason I like that is because if I pick up a shorter scale acoustic with lighter strings on it, I find that thing that inspires me to do something different. So I'm thinking the opposite of you. You want to see what you can get out of a guitar. I'm the opposite. I want to let the guitar be at first. Let it be whatever it's going to be and see what it teaches me. I found in the last few days that I've been playing in a key that I've never played in before. I've also found that I've been using a couple of scales that I don't ever use. And it's because the guitar sounded a certain way and it made me want to go there. and it's like, so now I'm playing something different, totally different. And I just think it's really neat that that can do that. So I kind of, and I understand what you're saying, but I'm personally, this is just, obviously we all do it different, right? So I'm kind of going the opposite direction. Um, yeah. Let's see. I too use different Tonex. So there's a bunch of people, Tonex, Helix. What else? I heard you say once that those noise reducers cancelers rob tone. Can you explain that? Noise canceling, it depends on how it's done. Gates typically just are like a noise gate that if the guitar's only making this much sound, it'll just shut it off. If it's a good noise gate, it will be less intrusive than a noiseless pickup, because noiseless pickups they will inherently take something that you wanted to be there while they're taking away the thing that didn't want to be there. Is there a proper way to store pickups so they don't interfere with each other? I don't think so. I don't really worry about that too much. Let's see what else we got. Ooh, the Iridium. I really want to get one of those. I haven't gotten around to it. Um, yeah, I've really wanted to get one of those Iridiums. Not the Iridium though. I would just get the normal one. But those are really cool. And what I've heard of them, like listening to them and hearing other people play them and stuff, they seem really, really neat. Um, HX Stomp. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Like, so most of you that are commenting right now are using modeling stuff. That's really cool. Um, Hang on, I had to lock my chair. That is really neat. And what I think is really cool about that is I am almost positive, and you guys can get in the comments and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I would probably think, I'm guessing, that you are doing this because it's your use case. I'm guessing that your choice to use a modeling amp of some sort is because you can't play loud, or you don't have the space, or you don't have the money, or you don't have, there's some reason. Like, my assumption is, and I could be wrong, but my assumption is that any warm-blooded guitar player would love to have all of the black panel fenders in their basement or wherever their guitar room is, and they would love to have all of the plexis, and they would love to have a Dumble, and we would all love to have a huge room with a bunch of guitar amps in it and a place where we could play them on 10 all the time. But my guess is that practically that is not possible. Therefore, you have a Tonex or an HX Stomp. You could tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but my guess is that's why. Because that's really it's not that we don't like that stuff. It's we just don't have room for it, or whatever. It's not practical. I was telling Leslie last night, because we're working on getting a house, and once we get into this house, I was like, I cannot wait to use the speakers on my amp. Like, I have not used the speakers on my amp. Like, one of them I've never used the speaker on it. I'm like, I would love to actually play in the room instead of direct with headphones. It would be great. I have not been able to do that. It would be really nice. I would really like that. Let's see. Um, I have a room like that. It's named Fractal Axe Effects 3. Yeah, man. I understand. I understand. I miss having a Kemper. I did like that thing. But I found that I'm only using a couple of the profiles, so I ended up kind of not caring about it. And I kind of like playing with pedals too. So the Tone X thing's pretty neat. It's a neat I don't want to say compromise because that's the wrong word, but it's a neat way to kind of get both sides of it. And having the Tone Master Princeton, because I'm a big Princeton person, I love Princeton's. And then I have to say the Black Star St. James, being a 50 watt 6L6 tube amp with the digital back end, is to me like the best of all worlds because it sounds fantastic, but it's still practical and I can play it quietly. Yeah. You're right, but it's even more amazing. I can take almost unlimited amp effects options to gigs. My entire gig rig fits on my back. You know, Steve, that's really true. It is, once you get to a spot where you're like, I do not want to haul this amp. I just don't want to. I don't care that I could get this much different tone in a particular place. But now I have to haul 100 pounds worth of crap down some stairs or up some stairs or, whatever, in the rain, whatever. I just don't care. It's like not worth it to me. And I think too, there's playing for you and there's playing for other people. I hear this all the time when people will say, well, usually it's Gibson Epiphone arguments. Well, the drunk people in the bar don't know the difference between your Gibson and your Epiphone, so you're a snob. I'm like, okay, it's very true. It's very true. In fact, the power in the place and the way the sound man, because you don't have a sound man because you're just playing an amp into a wall, probably also determines the fact that you could play any guitar you want and you'll still sound the same in some crappy bar somewhere, right? Like, it doesn't matter. You can play whatever you want because there's just a couple places that I used to play here all the time and like once a week. And no matter what guitar, because of course I play a different guitar every 2 seconds. So I'd bring whatever guitar, whatever amp, doesn't matter. And I always sound the same. And it always sounded, the room almost determined how I sounded more than what I was playing. Like this place called Joe's Underground, and it's in a basement. And it's like, I know what that room sounds like. It doesn't matter what I play. It actually doesn't matter what overdrive I use. It doesn't matter anything. Like, I would just sound the same in that room. It doesn't matter because it's like the room. It's the way the stage is shaped. It's like how you had to point your amp, like all that kind of stuff. Like, it just didn't matter. Like, you could play whatever you wanted in that room. Did not matter. You would sound exactly the same. So it's whatever. So I get the, you might as well play an Epiphone because it doesn't matter. Okay, true. I just don't like the way it feels. If I don't like the way a guitar feels, I'm not going to play it. So sometimes the choice of an instrument is because you like it. And that's, to me, that's the other thing that people in the just as good as conversation do not allow to happen, is for another human being to like a thing. Typically it's usually out of jealousy or some sort of envy or some sort of unresolved, you need to call 1-800-BETTER-HELP or something and get some other issues resolved outside of guitar playing so that you don't trash on other people who play Gibsons even when you play an Epiphone or a Harley Benton or whatever. Typically it has nothing to do with the guitar. I don't know, got dropped on your head when you're a kid or something. But usually that's more to do with that. But I usually and we talk about this all the time, and I think I'm not the only one where you make two different decisions, right? So the guitars that I use on the channel and the guitars that I buy for myself are kind of two different things. I buy a bunch of Squiers and, cool guitars, really, like, made in Mexico stuff, some Epiphones. We got all kind of stuff around here. It's like super fun, right? But those guitars are the guitars that I use for work. Now, the guitar that I'm going to curate for my own collection, that I'm going to keep for myself, are not going to be those things. Because if I have an opportunity to get the real thing of those things, I'm going to do it because it's cool. Because I like it. Not because I'm a guitar snob or a tone snob or a whatever. It's because I think it's cool. End of story. Like, I wanted a Martin D28. I've wanted one since I was a little kid. Now, in the closet in there, we'll make a video about this and I'll show you. I have a Sigma DM3 from 1979. What that is it's a Korean Martin. They had an Epiphone. So back in the day, maybe they still do, but they're not as good anymore. They're different now. In the late 70s and early 80s, Martin had a Squier, and it was called Sigma, and it was made in Korea, and it was a phenomenal guitar. I played that guitar for 40 years. Okay. Well, 35 years, because about 5 or 6 years ago, I stopped playing it because my grandfather gave it to me. And so I've had that instrument almost since it was new, but as a gift from my grandfather. And once the bridge split and whatever, and I had the bridge redone and whatever, it kind of wasn't ever the same after that. So blah, 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 whatever. I retired it. And that's when I bought my Breedlove, 2016. That guitar's phenomenal. It's really cool. I don't play it anymore. We'll make a video about it. I'll show you. But I wanted a real one. Like, I just want the real one. End of story. That's all. We were a Martin dealer when I was a little kid. My dad had D28s. My dad had D35s. My dad had D45s. We had all the stuff because we were a Martin dealer when I was a kid. But I've never owned one so I just wanted one. That doesn't make a Yamaha acoustic or anything any worse. And in fact, it doesn't mean that a Yamaha acoustic has less tone. It's just, I wanted a Martin. And here's the other thing. It's interesting because somebody said to me too, well, now that you have a Martin, you have no reason to like the other stuff. And this is the other thing that I think people don't understand or don't want to understand or ignore, or their own personal views are affected by this, whatever. Just because I own a Gibson, just because I own a Martin, just because I own an American PRS, does not mean that I like a Squier or a Epiphone Les Paul or anything any less. It doesn't mean that. Because each of those guitars have a place. This is why the tone thing doesn't matter. Do you like the object or not? Can you put it in your rotation somehow or not? End of story. If you can improve it somehow, then put new pickups in it. Call me. We'll make it happen. But just because I have an expensive thing or you have, like, I'm sure, because I get a bunch of comments about this all the time. I am positive that there are those of you who have a Gibson or an American Fender or an American PRS who also own an Epiphone or a PRS SE or a Squier because they're cool. Because it's just fun to be a guitar player. There's no competition in this. It's just fun to be a guitar player. And the competition between instruments and this versus this versus this compared to that, this tone is better than that, I think it's all stupid. Let each of the instruments live on their own and then make that guitar better if you want. Don't make it sound like another one, because it won't. It will never. You will never get two guitars to sound exactly the same. So don't even try. Don't A/B test them. Which one's better than this one? Don't do any of that ever. That's a complete waste of time. It's a complete waste of resources. It's negativity in the community. Don't ever do that. There is no reason to ever do that. Take the instrument that is in front of you and make it do what you want it to do. It's a totally different approach to tone. There is no standard for this is good tone or this is bad tone. If this instrument isn't doing what you want it to do, and I have something that will make it do what you want it to do, call me and we'll make it happen. Or maybe change the nut or do a setup on it or, whatever. And to all the people who say, just practice and don't change anything, I think that's stupid too, because it takes the fun out of the entire thing. And we all want to have fun with this stuff, right? So, obviously practicing is fun too, because it's playing the guitar. I know you're going to play the guitar more. I know. But if you don't like it, you're not going to practice. That would be my retort to that, is if you don't like the instrument, you're not going to practice. So practice more and don't spend any money and don't do anything fun is dumb, because practicing should be fun. And if you don't like the guitar, you're not going to practice. Yeah. Did anyone else get spam from Fender asking you to purchase a 70th anniversary Strat? They just released some 70th anniversary Strat thing. Yeah. Yep. Guitars with Dylan pickups are cooler. Agreed. This is what happens when you wind too many pickups. It is true. Oh, here we go. And let's see. Someone's dad. Not to get too philosophical, but does innovation come from pure tinkering and creativity, or snobbery that says that sucks, I'm going to make something better? Both, neither, or sometimes a mix of the two. So I will give you my concept on that. I've been inventing stuff and designing stuff for a very long time. Because this guitar thing is not my first rodeo. I did it in the power sports industry, done it in the car business. I've done a bunch of different stuff. And I will say that my brain, when I'm doing this stuff anyway, and it could be, I'm sure it's different for everybody. But what fuels me to design and to innovate, I suppose it's changing as I'm getting older. But two things. Problem solving is one. It's not a snobbery thing. It's I want a thing to do a thing that it doesn't do. In the power sports industry, it was, these motorcycles come with emission stuff on them now, and you can't tune them because they've got fixed needles. They've got fixed everything. We need to design systems to make sure that they do what they want to do. These cylinder heads have been modified for emissions, so we want to make them to where they can be tuned and they can be fast and we can win races with them. So then I go into a cylinder head and I be the air and I design whatever, and that's what I did. Same thing with carburation and airflow. That's what my guitar stuff's cool, but being the air in a cylinder head, that's where I really live. So anyway, that's what that was. And with the guitar stuff, for example, our center punch humbucker was, I want to solve the volume drop on a coil split problem. I want to solve that problem. I want to see if I can do it. Some of it's I want to see if I can do it. Some of it's I know I can do it, so let me just figure it out. And so there's where innovation comes from, and sometimes it's not innovation really. Sometimes you're, with pickups, you're not doing anything new. You're just reformulating really. Because, when we make something, I believe that we make something very good. I'm very proud of what we do. And our pickups are a certain flavor. Some people don't like our stuff. I've never met one of those people, but I know that there are people out there that don't like our stuff. What I try to do is make sure that if you are a person who doesn't like our stuff, just don't buy it in the first place. Right. Um, and I'll tell you what our thing is. Our thing is clarity and definition. That is the thing. If you are a very dark sounding person, if you like your stuff to be very dark and very muted, don't buy my stuff. That's, to me, I like that. So I think my innovation comes from stuff that I like. I'm going to make stuff that I like. As you are aware, there are pickups that I don't make. It's because I don't like them. We don't make blade single coils, like double blade, like little 59 kind of stuff. Like blade humbucker little things. We don't make those. We don't make, what do we make? What else don't we make? Anything noiseless. I don't like them. It's not necessarily a snobbery thing. It's just like, I want to solve a problem and I just enjoy a certain thing. And if I enjoy it, I know I'm going to be good at it. That's the other thing. I do things that I enjoy so that I can follow them all the way through and then be good at that thing and be confident in what I'm doing. That sounds maybe a little cocky, but that's what you all should do. That's what we all should do. If you should really enjoy what you're doing, and then you'll be better at it. And you'll be confident in what you're doing. And then when you share that skill with somebody through a product or a skill or a whatever, whether you're an electrician or a plumber or a guy who washes cars or somebody who mows lawns, I don't know. If you like what you're doing, you will be better at it and it will be a saleable skill or product. And that's what I do. That's what drives it. And it's fun. And I find it fun. When will you sell some noiseless pickups? Never. Never, ever, ever. Let's see. May I ask, are your Dylan Firebird pickups based on the Firebird of the 60s or the 70s? Probably 60s more so. Yeah. Find someone who looks at you like Dylan looks at air in a cylinder head. Dude, that is amazing. That is amazing. I love it. I need to figure out how to make a Jaga shirt. Would you buy a Jaga shirt if I bought it? If I made it? I don't like the similarity to another political slogan or to a political slogan that is, but we might figure out a way to make that work because it's funny. Anyway. Let's see. Just popping in to say hello. Cool. Hello. Awesome. You guys, this has been great. I try to stay at about an hour on Tuesdays. And we are about there. I've got a place to be here in about an hour. So thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks for those of you that use Super Chats. Thanks to everybody who participated in this conversation. This is a super fun one. It went by really fast, actually. I really appreciate it. And we will see you. I might make an extra video this week. But we'll see you Thursday on our live stream, if nothing else. Thanks for hanging out.